Hey now, it's your boy PSA Sitch here with a surprise Friday stream. What is happening? Oh my gosh.
What?
Who knows? Sometimes they'll just pop up
What?
randomly. So sneaky.
I know, it's a surprise. I like it.
Yes.
Look, I love
So
surprises. How do you feel about surprises, Sitch?
I sometimes like them if they're good. Sometimes,
Yeah,
you get
that's the
a
key.
nasty surprise, you take
Right.
someone home and whoops.
Surprise, you're in a car accident.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You turn the lights on and, you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's much brighter in my house than it was in that bar.
Oh, man.
But speaking of turning the lights on and someone revealing their true self,
Right.
what a segue! Today, we're going to be watching. This happened a while ago, but I only saw it recently. Someone sent me this clip. And so I kind of went through and I watched the whole podcast. There's this insane conversation between our good friend Hassan Piker and our other good friend, Second Thoughts, also known as No Thought, who basically in this conversation reveal that it's very important for socialists to hide their power level, to not scare away liberals, number one. And then number two, they basically whine about how it's okay for socialists to be millionaires who actually don't try to enact any of the policy changes in the world that they want.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty shocking to me.
So, guys, this is going to be a short stream. So, if you guys want to send super chats, we will probably read a few $20 super chats at the end of the stream. Anything below $20, we'll read on our regular Tuesday stream. So, obviously, we thank you guys for supporting the show. And I guess let's get into it, right?
let's jump into it. So this is a Second Thought. He has a podcast with a couple people named, let me bring it up real quick because there's probably people you're not familiar with. They don't even say. Wow. They don't even, that's pretty embarrassingly bad.
Oh,
Well, whatever.
is Hassan in this picture? I mean, I feel like
Hassan is
one of
not in
these
that
is
picture.
Second
No.
Thought. Yeah.
Second Thought's the guy playing video games. I think one of them's named Hakeem, and I don't remember what the other guy's name is. But who cares?
Is one of them Adam something? Because isn't that guy a socialist too? I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah. Okay.
Screw these people.
Socialist podcast. Here we go.
Directly, and you're lied to so fucking much from like the day you're born. So
yeah. I'm interested in hearing. I don't know if you guys have discussed this before, but I'm interested in hearing what JT's analysis of this is, or his radicalization of this is, because look, in some ways, I think all three of us and our perspective on the United States of America is, it's obvious, right? But for someone to be born in the United States, to grow up in the United States, and then to have shared values like this in a country that is disseminating the most Red Scare propaganda, that has so effectively shut out any kind of class consciousness, I think that is even harder to do.
Yeah, I mean, for me.
So the context here is that the other two people, so JT is Second Thought. The other two people are not American. And
Right.
obviously Hassan was not born in America. So Hassan's like, listen, we're all foreigners who hate America. But how do you, an American, hate America?
Do you ever feel like these people are crapping on our sacred identity of American? You ever feel like that, Sitch?
Of course. That's
degrading our identity.
Only I'm allowed to do that because I do it properly. Okay, no one else.
Oh, I know how that is, right?
No one
like,
else, right?
Someone starts talking smack about your sister, and you're like, "What the hell? Only I am allowed to call my sister a bitch."
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, I'll be honest. Back when I was still in my left-wing bubble, I would participate and bought into all the garbage about oh, Americans are stupid. America bad because of this. America bad because of that. Blah, 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 blah. Europeans are so much more, smart about politics and news and all this garbage. And then when you get out of your bubble and you start actually investigating the rest of the world, you realize, no, that's all nonsense. Everyone everywhere in the world is stupid completely. It's just luck. It's just basically luck that cultural institutions have essentially been established in your country because of greater people than you in the past set these things up.
Right, exactly. A few
Unfortunately,
smart
yes.
people actually make an
Yes.
influence on society.
Exactly. Unfortunately, those cultural institutions have been very successful. And so, like evolution, they get passed down and down and down and down. And then you have a bunch of dumb kids who are too lazy and ignorant to try to actually understand these cultural institutions. And they say, no, I don't have everything I want right now that I want. Let me just destroy everything. I know a better way.
Yeah, exactly. Based on my gut intuition, I know exactly how to fix all of society.
Exactly. It's like, oh, well, the plan you have to fix society has been tried, by dozens and dozens of other leaders all throughout history, and it always leads to millions of people
Right.
dying and everything being horrible.
Yeah,
They go,
look,
"But
here's
listen."
a big ditch full of dead bodies. Look how it
Yeah.
turned out.
Right. And they're like, listen, you don't understand. I
That
know
was
better.
state capitalism.
Right. I know better. This time will be different.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but let's hear how Second Thought became radicalized.
For me, it was a pretty run-of-the-mill radicalization process. Bernie came around, and I was like, oh, wow, he's saying stuff I haven't heard before. Yeah, why is our healthcare so expensive? Stuff like that. And, you know how it goes. I heard the rhetoric like, oh, he's not actually a socialist, he's a social democrat. I'm like, okay, what's the difference between social democracy and socialism? And then
So that laugh that Hassan just gave us, that is the knowing laugh of, oh, I know Bernie's hiding his power level laugh.
Oh, it is? Wow.
That's how I interpret it. He's like, oh, he's a social democrat, in finger quotes. It's like, social democrat.
We're
Yeah.
covering Hassan versus Ethan on Sunday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. So the social democrat thing plays two roles simultaneously of being a way for socialists to pretend they're not socialist, but also if you're actually a social democrat, then they hate you,
Oh, interesting.
which they talk about in this quote.
read a little bit more about that. And then the turning point for me was when I picked up State and Revolution and read that, and then things started to
That's
click.
great.
A little bit.
Great.
Yeah.
Great book.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. For anybody who hasn't read State and Revolution, it's short, it's easy to read, it stood to the test of time really quite well. He's a funny guy. Like Lenin's sassy. I love it.
So if you didn't catch that, he said he read Lenin's book, State and Revolution, and that's what sold him on becoming a socialist. So thank you, Lenin, for that.
Vladimir Lenin, huh?
It is, though, that is a little suspect because I don't think an average person just walks up and picks up, like, let me go read Lenin. Like, I'm like, okay, there's got to be some steps missing there, right? You don't just go, oh, I like Bernie Sanders. I want healthcare. Let me just go pick up some Lenin and read that.
Nonfiction, written in 1917, so it's very contemporary.
Yes.
Written before the Great Depression, written before World War II.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
But it was an interesting process because, a lot of Americans, myself included, were by default kind of apolitical in that it doesn't really affect us very much. You might dislike conservatives depending on where you live because they're, loud and obnoxious and racist and all that stuff. And so you've got a gut reaction.
Moment of silence for the racist stereotype for conservatives.
Well, it's so weird because I'm very curious as to what he's talking about. He's like, oh, there's all these like loud, obnoxious conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that? That's not a stereotype for conservatives, being loud and obnoxious. Like, really?
To him, it
I
is.
I don't know. It's just weird. Especially, well, it's just also very funny now because nowadays it feels like if you're going to say like, who's the loud, obnoxious person? It's like, oh, it's the person with the pink hair who's yelling to speak to your manager because you use the wrong pronoun, or the kids screaming that someone can't come and speak on a college campus or something. Like, I've always thought when I think of like that a loud, obnoxious stereotype, I generally think of people of like lower class. It's not like a political thing, specifically. So it's just, I don't know.
Right.
It's very weird to me. I don't know where he lives. I don't know where he grew up, that he kind of has this loud, obnoxious stereotype of conservatives. Even when I was in like the left-wing bubble, I don't think I never would have said that. So it's very strange to me.
He sees conservatives as white trash, racist, loud, obnoxious. white trash.
Yeah, you're right. That is what I guess that's what he's going for, which is funny because he's supposed to be a socialist who's all about like the lower class
The
people.
working class. Yeah, exactly.
So I guess
Yeah.
not, but all right.
Well, this is where the cultural Marxism comes in.
Yeah. Well, and also the whole
more
idea
about
that,
race.
like, the idea that like Americans are more apolitical than any other people, I don't buy that either.
Yeah.
Negative reaction against that, but that doesn't mean that you consider yourself political. And I was that way, but it's really hard to find accurate information here in the US when everything from our textbooks to like children's shows to sitcoms as you grow up to the news to movies, blockbuster movies, it's all so steeped in anti-communist propaganda, even to this day. And it's so you have this ingrained cultural revulsion or fear of anything that is seen as un-American. And that term has been so heavily conflated with left-wing economics, left-wing politics. I mean, properly left-wing, socialist and beyond, not the Democrats, which are clearly a right-wing party.
This is great.
Yeah, there you go. The Democrats are just a right-wing party. There's no left-wing party in America because they're not socialists, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, and it's hard for me to even understand at all where he's coming from because everything he's saying is so far away from my experience growing up. Even as someone who grew up in a left-wing liberal, not left-wing socialist bubble, where like growing up, I don't know, maybe he grew up in some very red area. I grew up in a pretty purple area my whole life. And like the media that I would see on TV, the movies I would consume, there was never this like communist bad message ever. And I don't know, he's younger than me, so I think it'd be even more in this direction. Like growing up, I never ever got this communist bad message. The message I always got growing up was, oh, the conservatives saw communists around every corner, under every rock and every shadow. And they just were like crying about it constantly. And it was all BS.
Yeah, McCarthyism.
And, they had this rampant McCarthyism and it was this big problem and the Republicans hated free speech and blah, 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 blah. And the communists were never a threat in America, period.
That's what I heard. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That same thing. Generation X. That's what Generation X got.
Yes. So like when
McCarthy was evil. The communists were never a threat. Oh, Russia, they were a threat, but there were no communists in America because America's great.
Exactly. Like it wasn't, my mom, grew up in Florida at the time period where they would do the duck and cover drills under your desk because they were afraid like the Cuban missiles were going to come and like to blow up Florida or something. So I don't know. It's just, that was not my experience. I don't know. I have literally no clue what he's talking about at all, unless he just, and he's saying media too. So I don't know what national media he was consuming in the 90s and 2000s. That was like this virulent anti-communist media.
I like how he frames communist propaganda as good information. Look, it's really hard to find good communist propaganda out there
from Lenin.
In the media.
Right.
The good information.
What do you mean? The Democrats I thought they were communists. What the fuck?
Yeah, this morning, now that they've arrested their political rival Donald Trump, we are living in communist America.
Yeah, I don't get it.
This is, look, I can't stand this. Because the Republicans and the conservatives are kind of in a boy who cried wolf situation here. Calling everyone commie and socialist, not helpful. Very not helpful, yeah.
Of course, but that's but see, that's like, there is truth to the idea that the Republicans were throwing the communist label at everyone, obviously.
In the same way that the left throws the racist label at everyone.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. Right, and that's just true of any label that has political use will become overused.
Yes, and then lose its usefulness,
Exactly.
lose its utility.
Right.
Yeah, people are less and less afraid of being called racist. People are less and less afraid of being called communist. And now there's open racist and open communist.
I know, it's terrible.
Aren't we in a great place?
I know.
Just like, oh, can't these people just shut the F up?
Exactly right. It's when the government does stuff.
Yeah,
After all.
it's interesting. It's frustrating.
Look, he even says it when the government does stuff.
Well, he's making fun of the concept that.
Okay, yeah, but that's a horrible framing.
Right.
Look, I've literally heard
I know
the
Wolf
Marxist
says that,
professor Richard Wolff say communism is when the government does stuff. Is he hiding his power level?
Yes, he's trying to basically trick young kids to being communist.
Right.
When he says that, yeah, because he knows that's not true.
Right. No, communist is when they dissolve the employer-employee relationship.
Yeah. Right.
Which I don't know if you listen to any of the Ethan Klein Hasanabi. Yeah.
I did. There's some
Look,
crazy
he
things.
completely destroys him.
Yes.
It's like not even funny, but yeah.
Frustrating, and it's why I made my channel the way I did when I not to sound conspiratorial or anything, but like when I had my eyes open to the reality of how the United States actually works, I was like, okay, how would I have wanted this explained to me when I was first learning about this stuff? And so that's why I took the 101 approach, because, the average American it's not just that they're starting from square one, they're starting from like square -30. You have to first pick apart all of the things that have been programmed into them, and then you can start to build upon a basis of reality.
You're describing the reason why so many people simultaneously consider me to be a Democratic Party mouthpiece or a suck dem or whatever the fuck, but also a threat to America as well, because I do, just like you said, I do advocate for social democratic reforms, and I do think that in order to develop any kind of mechanism of pushback, a robust labor force that has any kind of speaking power, any kind of fighting power, to strike at the heart of the imperial core where value is generated, I think that in the short term, in order to combat against that, you have to advocate for a much lighter form of propaganda.
So, okay, I just want this to be like, no, you can use this clip forever. This is Hassan saying publicly that he is hiding his power level. He is advocating for, quote, lighter propaganda to get people ready, to get the culture ready to, jump in deeper and deeper into the socialist rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah.
It's disgusting to me that these people, and they openly admit it, and he fears no repercussions for this. He openly admits that he's basically lying and manipulating and propagandizing his audience to try to sucker them down a deep, deep rabbit hole. Like it's like whenever you've heard, Nick Fuentes or any of these other like far right, alt-right people talk about how like they need to use humor in order to like trick people essentially into like, falling down the white nationalist rabbit hole. This is the leftist version of it. Like, oh, we need to speak in the terms of liberalism at first. We need to talk about social democracy at first. And we're going to keep pulling them. We're going to keep trying to reel them in.
Right. The difference that I think most people make and why they're terrified of Nick Fuentes and they're not necessarily terrified of Hassan is because of the racial component. They really only perceive of socialism as an economic system, where they do perceive of Nick Fuentes as like ethno-nationalism, or there's a racist component to it. That seems more dangerous. Yeah. But I mean, socialism, we've really done a bad job, because socialism is basically infringing on your freedom in many ways. Yes. That, is just as bad, if not worse, than racism, right?
Yeah. It's a highly authoritarian philosophy and structure. There's a great part in the Ethan conversation with Hassan where he asks him, okay, if we live in a socialist country and there's like a big movement to return to capitalism, what do you do?
Right.
And Hassan keeps trying. He's like afraid to answer the question. And it's because obviously socialists, they're not liberals. They don't really care about free speech at all. That's why all this cancel culture stuff has blown up. They do not care about free speech at all. They don't even think free speech is real. Everything is just power games to these people. Right. And so part of the problem is, as you were saying, and also like when we talk about like the fear of white nationalism versus socialism, we don't, I think a big part of that's because we don't have a culture we never had a culture of socialism in America. Our country's never experienced that. Our country obviously has experienced, racism, white nationalism, slavery, second-class citizenship for Black people. So that's like, it's like within our history. It's within the grasp of American understanding. I think if we were a communist country that we had to like throw off the yoke of communism, in some kind of massive war, I think people would view this completely differently.
Yeah, I think so too. And obviously we were more familiar with racism because we experienced slavery and the Civil War.
Right.
A lot of the thing though is a lot of the reason why people are afraid of racism is because they think people are using race as a proxy to impinge on people's freedoms. So it's kind of the same. And also, I mean, in the communist situation, when it becomes about class, a lot of times they do slip into using race as a proxy. Asians,
yes.
Jewish people who tend to be perceived as higher status or higher wealth immediately get targeted. So there is a racial component that often slips in with communism that I think it would be a good idea to kind of play up a bit. A lot of the stuff you see from the communists, I mean, they slip into anti-Semitism so easily.
Of course.
It is because of a class dynamic.
Yeah.
Look at I'm forgetting his name now. Jeez. Kanye. That was totally about a class thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's this is why Marx, had in his On the Jewish Question paper.
Yeah.
Where he says that to abolish capitalism is to abolish Judaism. He's being highly anti-Semitic in that paper. And I'm sure you've seen people take quotes where they take the kind of Nazi quotes or they'll take communist quotes and they'll just replace class with Jew, or they'll just take the Nazi quotes and replace Jew with class or the bourgeoisie or whatever. And it's like the same philosophy, basically.
Look, the right wing, I think, is doing a really bad job of painting communism as something detestable. And I think a lot of it is because they're preaching to the choir over there. None of them like communism already. So, but I mean, some smart liberals could easily paint communism with the racist brush a little bit, just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of it, the right hits it with a degeneracy stick, which obviously that works for people on the right. I'm not sure it doesn't work necessarily for people on the left.
Yeah.
So much. So,
but people on the left do respond to racism pretty readily. I mean, that gets them, that really winds them up. I
mean, maybe they should lean into, Soviet Union and China being super racist.
How come nobody knows about this Marx paper on the Jewish question? I feel like that needs a little more airtime.
It does, yeah. It does.
Despite, I perfectly understand that social democracies benefit tremendously from American imperialism, Western imperialism, and would not exist in the way that they do without such atrocities committed, right? But if you want America in the way that I feel about it, and if you want America to get out of the way for places with more revolutionary potential to do what they would normally do, I think that one thing you have to do is advocate for a lighter form while simultaneously still doing agitated propaganda that goes beyond, social democratic ideas.
I just wanted to...
So there you go. See, he's like, you got to slow walk them into it. You got to do a lighter form of propaganda, but still, you got to get them ready for the radical stuff, baby.
Hassan doesn't even know what the radical stuff is, though. Like, he has no idea what he's talking about.
I think he does. He wants to abolish capital ownership.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but not his capital ownership, of course. Like,
yeah. Well, of course, all these people that, talk about this stuff, they all just happen to exist in fields and jobs where it's not going to affect them whatsoever, right? It's like Louis C.K. on Joe Rogan saying that we should just open the borders. It's like, okay, yeah, multimillionaire advocating for some massive political policy that will like harm, millions of people across the country and most people will hate, but doesn't affect them in the slightest. And yet they sit there on this platform and advocate for something that will have like basically no impact on them.
Yeah. Welcome to America.
Put emphasis on the exact point of the so-called radicalization funnel, where, for example, Hassan and JT catch them while they're young, as they say, and then they start looking into this new idea, etc., and then move forwards through the funnel, get more and more informed, get more and more radicalized, and so on, can only.
This is so crazy. Sitch. I can't believe this.
Yes. Where's Becca Lewis here? We have these open commies just saying, yes, we have a machine that's designed to radicalize young people and send them down the pathway.
The pipeline.
The pipeline, yeah.
This is look, this is the alt-left pipeline right here.
Yes.
That's just fine though. They're like, it's just a little education we're doing here.
This is why I get so upset and angry when I talk to these like people on the left who are kind of more in the normie space, and they just pretend this isn't happening. And I'm just like, you're out of your mind. Okay. And I'm just going to point to this now from now on. I'm like, listen, the top streamer among, in the world for politics, I believe, is Hassan. And he's
got a streamy for news.
Right. Yes. Well, yeah, there you go. But that's just based on your fans calling in. But fair enough. Right.
People,
and I'll say, I'll say
that as an accolade. Don't know
true.
That, though.
That is true. And I'll say, listen, this guy, number one streamer in the world for politics at the moment, he's openly talked about how he is a radicalization machine to suck in children to become communist. Okay. So don't give me this crap. Don't tell me this crap that you're not worried about this being a big issue in the future.
Yeah. Wow.
Work and can absolutely utilize, for example, the stuff that Hassan does, because Hassan does one very particular thing that social democrats that, for example, we would never call to this podcast or we would give a lot of shit to, because they cut the funnel from both sides. What do I mean by this? They introduce people to lukewarm socialist ideas, etc., and then they want to keep them there.
Yeah.
Right? Well, whenever Hassan introduces people to socialist ideas, yes, the lukewarm, not so scary sounding ones, keeping your power levels low, hidden, and so on and so on. He does not stop them from progressing through the funnel and getting additional information and so on. He doesn't agitate against, for example, the revolutionary perspective and so on and so on. That is the main difference,
So there you go. He's praising Hassan because he's like, listen, the big problem with all these social democrats, okay, is that they like give people just a little teeny tiny taste of socialism, just enough to like satiate them. And then they cut them off and they keep them in being a liberal capitalist. And that's a big problem. Okay. We need these full-throated, psyop socialists like Hassan. That's really just trying to pull kids all the way down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
It is. It's just insane. I mean, I'm glad they're talking about it openly. But it's wild.
You do your part in the funnel for the cause or whatever the fuck you want to call it. We'll talk later about, if what we're doing actually does anything, etc. But as long as...
We'll talk later after the stream. Don't you think? I mean, it sounds like that's what he was saying.
You do not try to keep people exactly there where you want them and don't want them to evolve, etc., then you're doing, in my modest opinion, a great thing for the cause. But unfortunately, there's a lot, especially for example on Twitch, motherfuckers that do the opposite, and they just because they want to farm their audience as much as they fucking can, and then they generate drama, which is almost 99% with other socialists, etc. And that is,
I stay away from all that noise.
Exactly. And that is reactionary shit. That is quite literally like anti-progressive and hurts the movement much more than it helps. So yeah, those are the two different
I hate wreckers, right? I mean, they've always been around, and I think originally wreckers would operate almost like in a way that you salt a workplace, right? Like they would come in, they would have a different ideological perspective, and they would do these things. Nowadays, I think in America especially, American exceptionalism, American individualism, American capitalism is so ingrained in the minds of people that like they do it without realizing. Like there are plenty of forms of what people would consider radical politics in leftist spaces that that people engage in, where they are unintentionally doing wrecker shit without recognizing that they're doing that.
So to be clear, what they're talking about is
what is the wrecker shit?
So what he's talking about is essentially that you have the people will enter into the socialist community on Twitch, and then they'll start arguing with each other, and they'll start fighting each other, and they'll
Right.
start causing drama between other leftists, and that this is a big problem to progress, that they all need to be in lockstep. They all need to not be fighting each other. They all need to be unified in some sort of leftist cause. And the infighting essentially is like this, subversive reactionary thing that's, means you're not a true socialist or whatever.
Which is odd because from my perspective, just looking at it from a Heidian point of view, it's the conservatives that place value on the three binding moral foundations, and it's the progressives that don't give a shit about the binding foundations. So they're kind of at a systemic disadvantage because the progressives are more likely to have infighting than conservatives.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, it's just so, it's so insane to me. That this is the worldview essentially. As like, well, here's what's interesting. So I want you to keep what they're all saying in mind, because they're talking like this very serious, like, oh, we're indoctrinating the youth. We're indoctrinating children. There's all these people, they're creating infighting. They're hurting the movement, blah, blah, blah. Like it all sounds like they're doing this very serious thing. A few minutes later, they're all going to say, we're just entertainers. We don't actually have to do anything. It's okay for us to make a bunch of money and not actually, try to start any co-ops or start a super PAC or try to enact real world change. We're just entertainers talking on the internet. So they want to have like this they want to disgustingly have it both ways, where they just rake in a bunch of money and then pretend like they're doing something important. And then when you challenge them on it, they're like, well, we're just talking on the internet. We're not important at all.
Yeah, I think until you've got stated goals for legislative changes, I think you're just like a fad identity movement.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
Which
Right.
I do kind of see these guys as in that realm. Like they're just this is LARPing.
Of course. And it's actually funny because they talk about that later, about how there is a problem where people in their movement think that consuming their dumb content is like revolutionarily like enough.
Right. Yeah.
And they basically chastise their audience for saying, no, you should listen to us. You should pay us for us to tell you what to do, but then you should go out there and do it. Like, we're not going to do it, but you should go do it.
Yeah. People don't like that. People want their leaders to lead by example.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, there are content creators that do that, obviously. I mean, Destiny was canvassing for the Democrats.
Right.
So I think, obviously, if Destiny's out there canvassing, his audience is more likely to canvass too, because they're saying, look, he's doing it. Makes it seem like it's possible.
I mean, that's why
Hassan
these guys are
just
so
bitching.
full of crap. Hassan and all the other bread tubers that are large could very easily start trying to build co-ops in California or wherever the hell they live, and trying to get things going. Try to say like, and talk about it all the time, even film it, try to get people excited for it, But they don't, because they don't care, because they're lazy crap holes who just want to sit in a room and react to content and play video games and then tell everyone how they should live their life.
Look, if Sitch and I were bigger, we would do it. We would totally do it just to show how
much it doesn't
insane
work.
it is. Yeah, exactly. Sitch and I would go out there. We would be the opposite Hasanabi, because we would go out there and we'd be like, look, we're going to do your job for you, Hassan. We're going to show you how easy it is to start a co-op.
Yeah.
This is going to be a giant success. Probably not. But, right? I mean, that would be fun and great content. Oh my God.
You know how I talked about how I should secretly create a second channel and pretend to be like super socialist?
Yes, see, this would be perfect for
Right.
that.
So yeah, that would be the goal, that, you get that channel really popular, you get a bunch of money, uh, to the channel, you start a co-op just to watch it burn.
How, like, I wonder
You like
how
give
much it would
into
be.
you give into, like, you start a co-op and you basically get like the most leftist lefties of all time to run it. And you just give into every single lefty demand. You're just like, I'm gonna do anything they want just to see how long it lasts.
Yeah, we got to get 10 people to be the co-op, 10 employees, and just film the meetings, like the
Yes.
decision-making meetings.
Yes.
That's so good content.
Oh my God, it would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Daily Wire, you have the resources to do this. Okay. This
Yes,
is like the
why aren't you
perfect
doing
thing
this?
for me to do. Yeah.
That'd be great.
You have anarchists, rad libs. I mean, I guess there's more historical precedent to that. But you have so many different flavorings of, like, the Nat socks or whatever, which is hilarious because that's just the most like anti-materialist perspective you can have, like nationalism in that regard, and all this other stuff.
I like that his big complaint about Nat socks, National Socialists, which are Nazis, is they're anti-materialists. That's the big complaint. Like, okay, I guess.
That people engage with, and it just purely is that fight is purely fought on aesthetic grounds, which is inherently, one, a mystification of class politics, and two, very liberal. It's the most liberal thing you can do, to be like, oh my God, like, you wear expensive clothes, like, you're fucking not a real leftist. Like, you need to, as a leftist, or as an anti-capitalist or a socialist, like, you can't have a house. You can't make money.
You need to live like an ascetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is inherently, like, it's inherently anti-socialist. Like, I'm no dengist, but
This struggle, like, this is so wildly dishonest
Mhm.
and so obviously fake. Like, you have to be so NPC brain, so inculcated in this cult. This is like when you see the people that are part of those mega churches where the guy is like, if you give me a bunch of money, like, magically God will then give you 10 times
Right.
that much money, right?
Of course, yeah.
And
Prosperity gospel.
right. And so you get these like total piece of crap, evil, psychopathically evil people who just swindle people out of all their money. And then they go around and they wear their super fancy suits and they fly around in their private jets and all this other nonsense. And people just keep throwing more and more money into this. I mean, that is the same mindset that is leading people to buy into any of the crap that they're talking about. No one ever said that socialists on the internet have to live, ascetic lives like monks, or they had to wander the streets with the homeless like Jesus, or something to that effect. No one's ever said that. But what they do say is, like, it seems a little hypocritical that you're like buying, name brand things, right? Capitalist name brand clothing and fancy watches. Doesn't that seem like a little hypocritical to the entire point of socialism? Is there still going to be expensive brands of merchandise in socialism that exist purely for people to show off their wealth?
There shouldn't be, right?
Right. That the entire concept of that is completely anti-socialism.
Because you're creating a hierarchy.
Yes.
I thought we were flattening hierarchies here.
Yes.
What's going on?
You're creating
What's up with the Gucci watch?
You're literally creating a product that solely exists for you to show off that you exist at a higher tier of economic hierarchy than everyone else. That is the only point of those big name brand Gucci, all that crap, Rolexes, all that stuff. That is literally the only point of those products at all, is to send that signal out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that is hypocritical. And yeah, it is hypocritical to live in, a mansion in Hollywood. And yeah, and here's the thing, people would tolerate that, I think, better if at least they saw that you were still using most of your money, or a big chunk of your money, to try to enact some positive political change according to your worldview, but you're not. So it just seems like a big fat grift.
Yep. This, I think, is part of the rift between Ethan and Hassan. Because I feel like Ethan wants to make positive change in the world. And I feel like Hassan is using this socialist stuff as an excuse not to enact change. Like we can't really do it until the communist revolution happens. So let me just kick back and, eat my caviar and sip my champagne.
Yeah, he says that. We're going to watch that. He says that in this conversation about how he can't actually do anything.
Really?
The power to,
okay,
yes.
So I'm right on the money then.
He gives this complete defeatist attitude about how we can't do anything.
It's just an excuse. It's just an excuse. And I
Why
feel
think
like
you're right
Ethan is like, look, we have some political power. We have some money.
Right.
Why can't we do this? What are we waiting around for? Right?
Maybe.
That's the American attitude right there.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I have your view that I think Ethan wants to go out there and do change. I think he just sees the hypocrisy of it and he's tired of, if he's doing a show with Hassan, there's going to be a big chunk of Hassan's audience watching him and they're all going to give him crap for not being a socialist. And it's probably starting to wear on him. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, look, some people deal with hypocrisy better than others, especially if they're getting rich off of that hypocrisy like Hassan. Right. But I'm not going to be a hypocrite just so I can get rich. That's just, I have to sleep at night. Okay. I have to look at myself in the mirror. It's just not, I would not. No,
you don't. Listen, you'll sleep better because you'll have a really fancy, expensive, Tempur-Pedic bed, with the best sheets.
And I already have one of those.
Well, there you go. You'll get a better one. Okay. You'll get two. Okay. You'll sandwich yourself between two Tempur-Pedic beds. Look. And then you can get really expensive sunglasses that you can wear whenever you look at yourself in the mirror so you don't have to see yourself.
I do. Look, I'm interested. I like challenges. And this seems like a challenge. And this is one of the things that makes me think Hassan just really doesn't believe any of this crap, is because he's not interested in even attempting it. Right?
Yeah. Listen, he seems pretty lazy at this point. Or at least, it's just, why bother?
Yeah, but it'd be such great content. Look, it would be such great content. It would make money. It would make tons of money. A reality television show starring Hassan about a workers' co-op would be of just like a view magnet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but that would be so much work though.
Oh, you're right. So just turning on the thing and babysitting a bunch of kids is a lot easier. Yeah, you're right. Having mom bring him his chicken tendies 3 times a day is just, that's easy. Put your feet up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's you know the quote that I'm obviously referencing, but socialism is not a poverty cult.
Absolutely.
Okay,
exactly right.
Prosperity is glorious for all.
It is.
There's a very good article by Jonas Manuel, the Brazilian Marxist, an organizer and historian, and he kind of ties in this European obsession with martyrdom in Christianity into the modern like flavor of Marxism that's practiced, and it's like where they almost deify failure. In a way. So that's like every revolution that failed is the revolution that was pure, it was perfect, they were doing everything right. But the second that they have to contend with the realities of building socialism, with all its contradictions, all its difficulties, and yes, even its excesses, all of a sudden then it's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be done. These people are revisionists or state capitalists or this, that. And it's always very telling that the people who are most vocal in this are the ones who have had the least successful leftist political projects, meaning Northwestern Europe and North America.
So okay. So if you think this is like one of the biggest copes I've ever heard in my life. So essentially this guy is whining about that he's quoting, and I guess he's also in the same boat here, is like, there's all these purists, all these loser socialist purists out there who look at the socialist countries like China and the USSR and these ones that were, quote, successful, right? Big air quotes there. And they're like, that's not real socialism. Why are they holding back the movement? Whenever socialists become successful, why do these people hold back the movement? Well, gee, I don't know. Maybe it's because they all become authoritarian crap holes where millions of people get slaughtered. It's like it's such an insane cope.
Right.
Oh my God.
I mean, and even if they aren't actively slaughtering people at the moment,
Right.
they're like terrible places to live. You can't even speak your mind without getting
Yes.
disappeared in the middle of the night. Like, who
Yes.
wants that?
I know. It's just these people are so, like they have their heads so far up their ass.
Yeah.
That just like the fact that this is such a thing, such a trope in socialism just proves that the philosophy is so high in the clouds beyond reality, so does not account for human nature that yes, whenever it gets enacted on a wide scale, it becomes this completely other different thing that all the theory people complain about.
It caters to a very primitive moral intuition, that intuition that we've all gone out together on the hunt and we've captured this giant wildebeest and we must share the wildebeest equally among ourselves.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work in a modern economy, dude. That's like not that intuition that you have, that very primal intuition that we've all done this together, is just okay. Maybe that works in a band of 12 guys going out to hunt a wildebeest, but in a factory of 100 people, you're gonna have mofos shirking as much as humanly possible, right?
Yes.
You
And
can't
need to-
divide the spoils equally because people are going to shirk and are going to relax. They're going to kick their feet up. They're going to be lazy, and some mofo is going to be out there doing the work of 20 men.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't divide it up equally. That's the way life has evolved. It's not fair. This is a problem with socialism. It's just fundamentally unfair to say, look, this guy did the work of 20 guys and we're going to give him one portion. Like, the reason people do the work of 20 guys is because they want a larger portion. They're like, hell yeah, I want a bigger portion. I'm going to do more work. Other people say, look, I don't care. Look, I'll take 1/10 of a portion. I just want to smoke weed and surf. Well, that's fine too.
You don't understand, Adam. The reason those people don't want to try hard is because they're living under capitalism, Adam.
No, it's
Capitalism
because
has demotivated them. If they're living in the communist utopia, they'd all be hard workers. They'd all really care.
This is such bullshit, because capitalism has enabled us to live a life that's satisfying where all we do is smoke weed and surf. Like, capitalism makes that possible. That's why I hate this stuff, because look, we have such an abundance in the West that comes from this system, that comes from the people, the guys that are like, I'm going to do the work of 20 guys. I'm going to do the work of 100 guys. I want to start my own business. I want to be on call 24/7. I want to pick up the phone at 4 a.m. when a customer calls me. Look, most people don't want to do that. Thank goodness there are people that do. The only reason those people are going to do that, and this comes up in the thing that we're going to watch on Sunday, because this is Ethan. Ethan is basically destroying Hassan with just common sense. It's like, look, I don't want to be the guy that picks up the phone at 4 a.m. for 10 years and then invite some janitor in that gets half my business.
Yeah.
Suck my dick. Suck my
insane.
dick. It's like ridiculous.
It's totally insane. Yeah.
It's totally ridiculous. And this idea, look, all these guys can sit around in their smug fucking easy chairs after they've already made it big. But they know this. Look, Hassan knows this. Hassan knows, look, I've been streaming 12 hours a day. This is like, I've done a lot of work here that somebody just coming in off the street hasn't done. He knows this deep down in his soul, but he can't say it because it's a complete contradiction from his worldview.
Right.
Which is just, it's a laughable worldview. It really is. Look, an economy is better when people can work as much or as little as they want, right?
Of course.
That doesn't work in a communist or a socialist economy. It doesn't work.
Nope.
what was that joke? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, if a Marxist achieves a Marxist society, he loses the one thing that he always identified with, because there's no longer a need for a said revolutionary Marxist. And a lot of people, like, as you both, all three of you beautifully put it, when you aestheticize it to an extent, you don't want it to actually happen, because then you're no longer special, right? What makes me special is that I'm against, man, the status quo, bro. Like, I want to fuck shit up and blah, blah, blah. But when the moment comes for fucking shit up, then you chicken out, because you obviously only wanted to define yourself as different and not necessarily believed any of the shit that you're spewing. But on the
I hope, hope that's it.
Yeah.
And I hope he's right.
Yes.
I hope all these LARPers are just like, yeah, I want to fuck shit up. But when it comes right down to it, they're like, nah, I kind of like staying home and playing my video games.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so too. It's funny that he's talking about this and he brought up that joke. It shows that there's a fundamental, complete not understanding of human nature and what is motivating these people, or like a lot of people that follow this movement. Because a lot of, like, I would wager that like the majority of the people, and they don't. This is why I kind of define the left and the right the way that I do. So many of the people that are like these socialist types of people, they're just like, I want change. They don't really understand any of the philosophy. They don't know if it would necessarily be better. They just, like, their intuition just tells them change. Thing bad because tradition, destroy tradition. Like, that's literally the thought process. There's nothing that more complicated than that.
Well, and I can relate on some level as an artist. I mean, I get bored with shit. I like change. Yeah.
Sure. But it's like, that's what's so hilarious, is that you could take any of these socialist people, okay? If you had like the technology, you could take all these people, you could erase their memories, right? You keep their personalities intact, but you erase all their memories. You plop them down in the socialist utopia, right? 1 year from now, they're all going to be like, listen, we need to have a revolution. This is oppressive.
This sucks. I feel too free. I want to be constrained.
We need something different here. We need something complete, because that's just the intuition. The intuition is there's always something better. There's always some magical different thing that we can do. We need to tear it all down.
Yeah, totally.
Continuing in the line of, aesthetization and all of this, I remember watching the shit show, which was the U.S. elections a few years ago through your stream, and I remember it peaking at like over 200,000 like consecutive viewers at some point, and those are not rookie numbers, baby. Those are like CNN, Fox News numbers, and you're just a guy and the skeleton crew of editors and managers. So like,
he's disgusted by hierarchy, obviously. I mean, you can tell it in his voice. His adulation for how high status the person he's sitting next to is.
Right.
Look, it's so transparently a scam.
I know.
They all love, nobody is more status conscious than the guys that want to squash hierarchies. Because that's the only way they're going to get to the top of the hierarchy.
Exactly. Of course. They want to squash the hierarchy because they're so obsessed with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm too low on the hierarchy. We need to get rid of it. Oh, wait, I'm high on the hierarchy now. I love it.
Yep.
The traditional media, as cliche as it is, dying. Why is the obvious answer yes? And what do you think, the future of political / news coverage will look like? Because, a guy in a suit staring at a camera and reading off of a teleprompter is probably not it.
I don't know where the future of media will go. In many respects, what I do is actually not all that different than what like right-wing AM radio broadcasters would do and have been doing and will continue to do for many, many years, probably. I mean, I am probably closer to a Rush Limbaugh, rest in piss, than like a Jon Stewart, I would say. Obviously, I'm not speaking ideologically. I just mean, content-wise, or maybe even rhetoric-wise, honestly. I mean, he is a dishonest pervert, pill junkie who fucking died of brain cancer, but, ultimately he was doing off-the-cuff analysis from a reactionary perspective and was cutting a shitload of propaganda very successfully. And that off-the-cuff, like, nonstop content style has been around for a while. And I think I am doing something similar to that with my channel. The only component that is different than what has come prior to this is what this medium allows me to do is speak to people directly and immediately with real-time feedback. And there has never been...
Well, okay, I just thought it was interesting that Hassan sees himself in the same vein as Rush Limbaugh in terms of, obviously not politically, but in terms of like, he is just a political propagandist out there by his own definition, who's just reacting to things and putting out some political narrative.
Yeah, it seems weird to me because I think he would say that much of what Rush Limbaugh, many of the narratives that Rush Limbaugh espoused were untrue.
Right. So, but he's like, well, I'm going to be Rush Limbaugh, but like for my side.
Right. I'd like to know what the truth value, what he believes the truth value is, though. Just even calling it propaganda. I mean, propaganda has a valence of untruthfulness in the word.
Well, that's what's so weird is because there was, I don't know if we watched on stream, but there's a second thought video where he straight up says that propaganda is not a negative term and shouldn't be conceptualized as a negative term. And he says what he does is propaganda. It's just communist propaganda.
Right. Well, we usually call it advertising.
Yeah, but that's what's
we
so
understand
wild.
that advertising is. We understand that advertising is biased, but not untruthful, because there's literally rules about being truthful in advertising. You can't make claims that are not fact-based in advertising.
Propaganda. Okay. Definition. Information, especially of a bias or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. You should always be highly skeptical of someone who's trying to take a word that everyone associates with something negative and be like, no, listen, it's actually good.
I think the definition of advertising is probably that exact same definition minus the misleading.
Right.
On these subjects in real time.
Basically, what Hassan is saying is that he should pay his chat, because thanks to chat, the show is actually good. But it's pretty incredible that people like us, have found
this is how audience capture happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, Hassan is basically looking at his chat and going, okay, don't say that. Say this. This works. This gets people happy. This is what they want to hear. A little bit more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. We say tons of stuff that I know sectors of our audience do not like. We say other things that sectors of our audience love.
Right.
And I just feel like a lot of our audience realizes that Sitch and Adam are a mixed bag. I guess they have a high tolerance for hearing things that they disagree with, where I think most people have a very low tolerance for hearing things that they disagree with.
But that's what's so wild, is that you would hope in a better world that your political pundits would be saying, they should all be saying things that you agree and disagree with. Like,
and you shouldn't be triggered and leaving because of it.
Like, what are the odds? Okay, that number one, you're going to find a person that you agree with them on 100% of everything. That's like impossible. Like, what are the chances of that? Number one. Number two, what are the odds that there's some magical political position out there, some magical political party out there that just has all of this, magically, by chance, has all of the correct views. They have every single answer. Right. But the other guys, they just have all the wrong answers. They have every single wrong answer.
There is only one party that has every single right answer.
What's that?
And that's the enlightened centrist party. I mean, that's the platform of enlightened.
I thought you were going to say it's the fight for your right, the party.
Well, that too. Look, that's a subset of the enlightened centrist.
True.
Party. The enlightened part of enlightened centrist just means you're not swayed by partisan straw man arguments. You can see through those stupid straw man arguments. Gotta dig into the actual substance. As soon as you get to the actual substance, you can figure out, what is right about this position? What is wrong about this position? Is this position factually correct for the world as it is? You can't do that. No political parties are run by narratives.
Right.
Narratives are what get politicians elected. We live in a white supremacist nation. That's like a narrative that gets politicians elected. Most people are lazy welfare queens. That's a narrative that gets people elected, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, facts will come up that will disprove that narrative. Oh, look, here's a fact, some statistic about welfare. Who's on welfare, right?
Right.
Look, it's all whites on welfare. Oh, no. Right. So you have to bury that. It forces you in a position to be wrong because you have to maintain the narrative. The narrative is how you're getting elected. Yeah. So, but as soon as you throw away narratives, as soon as you're like, screw all these narratives, all this narrative bullshit, just tell me the facts. I just want to know the facts of the case. Look, let me listen to the Newland call myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the narrative is, the America bad narrative that I must live and die by. I just want to know if this is fucking true or not.
Right.
Yeah, then you're stepping outside of your partisan bubble. Yeah. Yeah. Getting more closer to the truth.
Model in which we get to like put food on our table while we spread our ideas and trick the market into quite literally allowing us to grow bigger and faster by the month so that we can proliferate more and more anti-capitalist rhetoric. The capitalist will sell us the very rope we will hang them with, blah, blah, blah. And some have been, and I proudly say deservingly, super successful.
This is very important. Okay. Because this really shows you the difference between liberalism and socialist scum. Okay.
Yeah, that was a little dark,
right.
Sitch.
Right. So, because he's talking about we're using the system of capitalism and liberalism to essentially, we're tricking them, because it's so funny. He's literally talking about sort of the sort of straw man version, the not real version, but the kind of straw man version of the paradox of tolerance, because he's essentially saying we're going to use the system of liberalism and capitalism to destroy it. And he's criticizing implicitly by what he's saying, he's criticizing that the system allows its own destructions to be planted within the system by being free, by being tolerant. Because we do live. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he lives in a free country. I think he lives in Iraq or something, or Iran or something. I forget whatever country this guy's from, but I think he lives there too. But which is what makes it extra funny too. He's not even living in a free country where he can criticize liberal capitalism.
Well, socialism might be a step up for him if he's in an autocratic regime.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, so it's yes. So this is why the socialists don't believe in free speech or freedom or any of that stuff, because they just look at everything through power, the lens of power games and lens of oppressor or oppressee. And so it's oh, okay, so this is why that question that Ethan asked Hassan is so relevant in the conversation we're going to watch on Sunday, where he's well, what do you do in a socialist society if liberalism and capitalism starts making a comeback? And the answer is you squash it. You squash it and you squash them, because they do not value freedom at all. In liberalism, the value is freedom. That is the value, individual freedom. That's the thing that's at the top. Yes, individual freedom. Under socialism, it's equality. Okay. Quote, equality.
Yeah.
And if you want equality, that means you need a hand from the top that pushes everyone at some equal level. It's got to keep people down.
At this model, such as yourself, such as JT as well, such as one day this podcast, or to an extent even now, or fucking insanely big shit like Chapo Trap House and others, which wink wink, Patreon link is in the description. But nothing comes free of consequences, as they say. And you being a great example of being wrongfully slandered just because you've managed to do well. So where do you think this criticism mostly comes from? Is it all just as you mentioned earlier, champagne socialist, so cringe, rightoid bullshit? Or do you think that some of it might come from a misguided but quote unquote good place?
I'm sure some of it is coming from a misguided place. I think all of it's coming from a misguided place. It just ranges from like misguided and not fully understanding, grasping the situation, and misinformed, to misguided and deliberately trying to cut takes that will gain a prominence, that will get you to gain prominence in the tiny, already fractured socialist spheres of the internet, so you can get fucking more subscribers to your Substack or Patreon or whatever the fuck you're doing. And then last but not least, you have the people who portray themselves as like some form of anti-capitalist or leftist or even liberal sometimes, who are just doing that maliciously. They only find themselves in contention with socialists and never offer that same lens of skepticism, cynicism to all the way to Nazis even. You know, it's just like so odd.
What? Who do you think he's talking about here?
I'm not sure.
I'm
Who's
wondering
not
if this is
skeptical of Nazis?
I feel like this is he's trying to dig at Destiny here. I don't know who else he would even be trying to relate
Oh,
this
you're
to.
right. You're right. You're
That's the only thing I could
totally
think of,
right.
yeah.
I think there's
Because
varying
of,
degrees
Because of the Fuentes stuff.
Fuente stuff. Yeah, exactly.
of debate pervertry and personal motivation, personal gain that people have in this regard. Ultimately, though, I don't know. I just fucking keep my head down and I keep making content because it's not all that serious in many ways, the way I see it. I have no illusions. I do not believe that like I am going to create the armed revolutionary vanguard, one copy of imperialism, the highest state of capitalism on one hand, and then your Kalashnikov in the other, and we're gonna overtake with workers' councils. We're gonna start taking over the American government. We're gonna take over like American military bases and all this shit. Like that's not what I fantasize about. That's not something that I think is feasible in my lifetime. I simply try to put my best foot forward, be as entertaining as possible, make content while simultaneously describing the world from my perspective. A lot of people, I think, see that and go, oh, that means like you want to do a Maoist like peasants revolution in Iowa. That's not, I don't think that is even I don't think we're even capable of doing that.
What I was going to
Okay, but here's the question. Here's the question to ask Hassan. Because a lot of the socialists, they do this thing. They say, well, it's not feasible. It's not feasible. It's like, okay, hypothetically, if it was feasible, would you do it? Or would you advocate for it? Because isn't that the goal? Isn't the goal to basically for you, Hassan, and the other socialist, bread tubers, all these, garbage people, isn't the goal for you to essentially propagate this idea wider and wider and wider until there is enough people, enough bodies that you can basically just throw at the system to spark the revolution? Isn't that the whole goal here?
Well, it depends. I mean, some socialists want to do it within the democratic framework, and some socialists want to do it through violence.
Of course.
I don't know which side of the equation Hassan is on there.
Yeah, but they'll all say, oh, I want to do it through democratic means, right? But what if it's like, okay, here's a hypothetical. 51%, okay, of the country becomes socialist in the future.
Right.
But they can't enact the clear socialist policies because obviously in America, you can't just win things with a simple majority, right? There's, balances and protections for the minority people in the country.
Right.
So if you get stalemated for 20 years, 51% of the country becomes socialist, 49% is still dirty, disgusting liberal capitalist, right? And they basically just stalemate the socialists forever. Is it okay then to have a violent revolution at that point?
No, never. Of course not.
Well, I don't.
Political violence is unacceptable.
I think the socialists.
Oh, you're asking him. Oh,
yeah, but I think the socialists, they would all, and if they say no, I think they're lying. I think they're lying if they say
look,
no.
I agree. They're going to say yes. And then we get to see them get their asses kicked by the Proud Boys, because there's no way they're going to win a fight against the Proud Boys. Look, it's not even close. This is what happens every time.
Sure.
It's like the intellectual college students.
Well, if 51% of the country, they're going to get their ass kicked by the U.S. military. They're not going to be the Proud Boys.
Well, look. You don't think the military guys are going to be nationalists? I feel like they are.
No, I'm saying they're going to get. I'm saying the military is going to kick the socialist ass if they're 51% of the country.
Sure.
Like
if they elect, let's say AOC becomes like full blown communist, like she's like, I've introduced a bill, the Green New Deal, where we abolish all private property.
Sure.
Right. And she's elected president of the United States because of this 51% of socialists.
Right.
Is there right to private property even in the Constitution? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is it? Right. Is it? I feel like it's got to be, right? You have the right to your personal effects or something. I don't know. It's going to be weird.
I'm sure there's been private property cases that have come up. I don't know if they've ever come up in the terms of like, if you just say, I'm going to outlaw capital ownership or something, right?
Well, slavery happened. Slavery was somewhat of a property issue because they were like, we want people as our property, right? But they said, no, you can't do that. People are not property, you dumbass. Stop doing that. But I mean, abolishing just all property.
Right.
I mean, that's an interesting scenario, but Americans there would be fighting in the streets. That's not going to happen.
Obviously. Because usually when there's these kind of like, because we haven't had the communist takeover, right? Usually these property disputes are like, public domain eminent domain, public use disputes. Right. So, I mean, maybe it would depend on the action in which, how the law was structured, but
there have been, I've seen videos and read stories about eminent domain being used by corporations to take people's property away from them for some kind of development that the city says, this will be good for the city, right?
Right.
And then the person goes back to the property 10 years later, nothing's been done.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a pathway, a conceivable pathway where some future socialist executive office in America could try to craft some legislation to enact some crazy changes like that. Yeah.
Look, the only reason I think people are talking about this, and Hassan has admitted in this video that he's just watching the chat. He's responding to the chat. Hassan is getting filthy rich saying the kinds of things that his audience wants to hear. So ultimately, we're looking at not what Hassan is saying, but we're looking at what the audience wants to hear. And if enough people are in such dire straits financially, they don't have a good job. They're working a job that they hate. There's no way in hell that they'll ever be able to afford a house because houses are just ridiculously expensive. Their rent is constantly going up. Their inflation is killing them just with their daily needs. Those people are going to be more receptive to Hassan's message of we need to smash the system. That's what scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not Hassan basically saying the stupid shit Hassan says. The fact that people are willing to listen. So I just look, it could just be an aesthetic thing. This could be a bunch of kids that it's this is goth for them or this is punk rock for them, right? They're doing fine. They all have good jobs. They just all listen to a song because it's funny, right?
Right.
That could be the scenario. But it could be the scenario that they're all just in terrible situations, right?
Yep.
They're listening to Hassan all day because they don't have a fucking job. That's a scary situation.
What I was just going to add is that a lot of people also take this, along the vein of what you're saying, a lot of people take this way too seriously or perceive what we do way too seriously. The revolution will not emanate from a bunch of people making content on the English language speaking internet,
Yes.
leftist spaces on Twitch and YouTube and whatnot. The revolution is made on the ground by active organizations doing good work, agitating, educating, doing fucking homeless drives and trying to secure housing, trying to drive unionization efforts. In the United States, even then, with all these efforts, likelihood of revolution is fairly low. In the imperial periphery, it's a lot higher because the stakes are a lot higher as well. That's why we see success of leftist movements in those areas.
So essentially, he's saying, listen, it's somebody else's problem. The revolution is not going to be started by you, Hassan, so don't worry about it. Buy your mansion, buy your nice clothes and your whatever car you want. It doesn't matter. Why are all these people complaining to us about us not starting the revolution? We're not going to start the revolution. It's other people actually out there in the physical world doing physical things. We're just entertainers. We're just on the internet talking crap.
We're just here to make money.
How could
Go
you listen?
socialism.
Yeah, like how could you? How? Like it's almost inconceivable to me how anyone could be a fan of these people after hearing this, after hearing them say like, "Oh, screw you, screw all the things that I've been talking about. I'm just going to throw my hands up and say, someone else go do it." Like, why would you listen to these people?
Well, this makes me think the people who are listening for aesthetic reasons, just punk rock, goth reasons,
Right,
not
maybe.
because
yeah.
if you're in dire straits and you hear that, I mean, you're pissed.
Yes.
Right?
There's literally people out there. This is why this is insane to me. So under the socialist framework, the whole thing's supposed to be power games and hierarchies and everything. That's everything. And you have these people like Hassan and these other and Second Thought and all these other YouTubers who they literally climb the hierarchy. They gain power, money, and influence by climbing the hierarchy. And then when they get to higher positions, then the majority of people that listen to them, okay, they turn around and they point to the people lower to them in the hierarchy and say, "What? You go do the work. What are you talking about? You're expecting us to use our power, influence, and wealth and being at a higher status in the hierarchy to actually like enact changes? No. You people below us, you go do the grunt work of enacting what we're talking about."
This sounds exactly like Hassan describes Wall Street.
Oh, it's almost like this is why this is so BS. It's almost why all this communist stuff is just BS, because everyone's like, when they're at the lower part of the hierarchy, they're like, yeah, equality, yeah, power of the people, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then they climb the hierarchy and they're like, listen.
The facts of life come out.
Yeah, listen. Listen, okay. The classic experiment, classic Monopoly experiment. They give people who are playing Monopoly, they let them start off with more money, right? And what do you know? The people that start off with more money, when they start winning the game, they think, listen, maybe I got an advantage at first, but it's definitely my good big brain that's let me, maintain my my lead here. It's the
that
same thing.
Advantage was so tiny. My brain advantage is so massive.
Right. And it's the same thing with all these screwballs here. Okay. Is that, as soon as they start climbing the hierarchy, as soon as they get to a higher spot, they're like, okay, let's put a pause here. You people below me, you grunts below me, you go do the work. I'm doing good work climbing the hierarchy, enriching my own life. All right.
Yeah. Look, I make it look good. I make socialism look sexy.
But yeah, just wrap that point up that I want to say is Yugopnik has a very good saying that he said several times, which is no matter what we do, we're kind of like in the Russian Revolution, the people who put the posters up, the agitprop posters up. That's basically what we do. We want to bring about a slight cultural shift in attitude towards perceiving socialism, and hopefully educate some people and entertain some people in the meanwhile. Nothing any deeper than this, really.
It's crazy. I mean,
that's all. Look, why would you give any of these people money at all? They're like, I'm just a guy who puts up the poster. That's all I do. I'm just the poster guy. I'm not the actual change reality guy. That's someone else's job, right? It's so funny because they're literally they're so stupid. These people are so fucking stupid. They're just reproducing capitalism and they don't even realize it. They're like, I want to have a very narrow, specific job that I do, that I get paid to do. And I want someone else to go out there in the real world and enact the actual change. This is why when we listen to Philosophy Tube and he's like, why do I go work at a restaurant and I serve someone a meal that costs $8 and yet I only get $8 an hour? How does that make any sense? And it's like, well, did you buy the building? Did you construct the building? Did you buy the food? Did you buy the like all the facilities that exist for the restaurant to function? Did you hire all the people? Do you manage all the people? Did you buy all the tables and chairs? Did you do all of the the hard work of creating and managing the physical location and getting the product in the first place? Or are you just the guy who takes the food from one location to the other? Okay, it's almost like it doesn't fucking work that way, Philosophy Tube. It's the same thing with these guys. As soon as it turns to someone criticizing them about why are you not acting the physical change in the world, suddenly they become rampant capitalists. Like, well, that's someone else's job. That's someone else's specified job here. I'm just doing my little specified job. It's totally easy. It's totally easy for someone to go out there and create the real world change out there in the world. Maybe this is why they don't. Maybe this is why they don't care and have no understanding and no, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. They don't understand the difficulty of people to go out there and create businesses on their own, because they literally think Elon Musk sits around in his office all day playing Doom, right? Or Elden Ring or whatever the fuck they think he's doing all day.
Yeah, totally. They don't
and it's like, oh,
understand
why
the
just have the
principle of
people do the
organizing.
socialist revolution? Just go out there and just do it. I'm just a guy putting up the posters.
Hey man, you want to join my revolution?
I don't know. What are you doing? Well, I'm just putting up the posters,
Look,
man.
I'm
Like,
putting
oh,
up the
okay.
posters, man.
Really? You're putting up it's weird. You're the guy who puts up the poster. You're the top of the hierarchy here. The poster guy's at the top of the hierarchy. That's a little strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just the poster guy. Just putting the poster up. Look, haven't you ever read the Adam Smith, man? The Division of Labor? I'm the poster
Adam Smith,
guy.
wait a minute. Well, I thought this was the communist meeting. What's going on here?
I'm the poster guy.
Okay.
I'm the poster leader.
Yeah, okay.
There are some people online who, like you said, Akeem, take this way, way too seriously. Like I tweeted out, I was complaining, I was looking for a new camera for my on location stuff. And I tweeted my complaints about it. Like, I'm just complaining about Canon specs. And this person in the comments shows up, why aren't you building the revolution? I feel like you and Hassan could pool your resources and viewers together. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a guy with a laptop and internet connection and some opinions. What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? Someone else, someone who's somehow smarter than me and richer than me and way more motivated than me, you go do work. I don't do that. I sit on laptop and make videos. That's all I do. I don't know. I don't listen.
So
I know it.
strange.
I don't know how to tell you this. Okay, listen, audience. I know enough. All right. I know enough. I'm smart enough to tell with full confidence that the entirety of American society should be restructured. I'm so fucking smart that I'm going to declare and demand that the entire society of America and economy of America be restructured. But I'm not smart enough to know how to go do it or anything about it or to manifest that. But I'm smart enough to know that that's really the key to everything.
Then you're not very smart, man.
These people are like the narcissistic megalomaniac egos on these people. These grifters.
Yeah, totally.
They're scam artists.
Look, I'm just the camera guy, okay? Look, I just make videos.
We should rename BreadTube to ScamTube because that's what it is.
It totally is, yeah. I don't know. You could at least put a plan together for someone who did have some resources, right?
Yeah, like, yes, right. Like, that's the whole, that's what's so funny too, is because for like these are the people that are, they and this is why they're all liars. Okay. They're all lying because you know that if you talk to them in a completely different context, removed from this why aren't you doing anything context, they all believe that they are the thought leaders of this movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the planners, central planning here. So plan up a revolution, you idiot.
Right. So that's the thing. Why are you not using your big intelligent brain? If you're so good at this that you can just demand that society should all change, right? Why are you sitting around with your big brains and all these other big socialist brains and you think of actual ways to manifest that so you can get, listen, I know you're not going to like this word because you're socialist. So you can get investors to invest in your socialist gobbledygook garbage and then you can actually manifest it out in the world.
Yeah.
No, someone else
way to do it.
Join CPUSA, PSL, FRSO, whatever you want to do. Don't look to the talking heads on YouTube or Twitch or whatever to be, the leaders of this vanguard. That's just it's bizarre.
This is so cope. This is such a scam. It's like, oh yeah, go join these organizations that have been in America for 50 years that have never done anything of value, never gained any power, never gained any publicity. Just go do that, right? You know, we're like the rising stars of the youth internet movement, but no, we're just hopeless. You know, we're just sitting around cracking jokes on the internet. That's all we're doing. Give us your money.
Crazy. Yeah, how to turn stardom into political change. I mean, that's what a lot of celebrities do. They're like, look, I've got all of this celebrity power behind me. How do I use it to do some good in the world? They're like, nah, I don't have time for this. Look, I got an upload schedule to keep.
I have money to make. I don't have time for this. I gotta put out videos. What time do I have to start, a co-op when I have to put out videos?
Oh, it'd be such good content though. But you'd have to put a plan together, obviously.
Yeah, you'd actually have to do it. Okay.
Yeah, my favorite is when someone who thinks that they're like social democrat even, but like really they're just fucking neoliberal, will come and be like, Hassan, why don't you start a super PAC to like bring about socialism in America? And I'm like, brother, I don't think a single billionaire could even do that. Yeah. And that motherfucker has billions and so much power. Because for every billionaire that would be like, I want to bring about my own demise and destroy the way that I've been able to, accumulate capital, right? For every billionaire that would even hypothetically do that, which would never happen, is laughable. There are, hundreds of billionaires that are like, abso-fucking-lutely not. We're going to murder you for even attempting this.
Okay, you like that he's saying that is Hassan saying that he's going to be assassinated or something if he starts a socialist super PAC? Like, this is insane. That's what he's implying, or he's saying directly. He's saying they're going to murder him, and
on the verge on assassination. Look, there's a lot of people with super PACs that I don't think. Look, Jank has one. I think Brianna Wu has one.
Right.
I mean, look, we should have a super PAC.
There you go.
I'm not worried about getting assassinated. I want to. Look, we need to generate some income here.
This is the best grift of all time. This is the perfect grift. They're like, Hassan's like, listen, I have this very extreme ideology that I want to enact in the world. However, it's so far off that even if I could get a billionaire on board with me to do this, it still wouldn't manifest in the world. Even with a billionaire backing me, I still couldn't manifest this in the world. Why would anyone follow this guy, this total idiot, who's literally saying, I'm so incompetent that even with billions of dollars at my disposal, I can't enact this massive political change that I'm going to spend most of my time saying that should be enacted?
Yeah, it's just crazy because not only that, he has access to all kinds of resources just being Hassan. Like anyone would take a meeting with him. He could just talk to somebody who has a super PAC. Like I said, look, I know 3 people with super PACs. Just talk to one of them.
He doesn't even have to be like, this is why this is like,
yeah, you hire somebody. You're like, listen.
Yes, he doesn't even have to be the idea guy. He could literally just be the face of some other super PAC or some other co-op or anything. I can guarantee you that in his audience or out there in the world, there's thousands of these socialists that are actually trying to do something in the world, that if he gave a crap enough about it, they would be dying to team up with Hassan to go do something.
Look, I think I discovered the problem here.
What?
Well, that would be diverting money from Hassan's pocket to a super PAC.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's every time he said, look, give to the super PAC if you want this kind of change enacted. I mean, they do it on the Young Turks all the time. They talk about their get money out of politics PAC. I can't remember what it's Wolf PAC. Every time they pitch Wolf PAC, I mean, that's one less person that could sign up and join TYT as a member, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That's tough.
It's a laughable notion. Again, it's like straight up trying to adopt the most liberal aesthetics or the most liberal solutions and completely misunderstanding how any of this stuff works.
What does that mean?
He's like, listen, you're trying to get me to do work, to do something that might actually have a
That's
shot
a
of
liberal.
enacting change.
That's a liberal aesthetic.
Yeah.
So in Marxism, they want to do away with the division of labor. It's funny that they're talking about, I'm just the poster guy. Because Marx wasn't he saying, you're a fisherman in the morning and you're sewing clothes in the afternoon and a philosopher at night.
Yes.
You're like,
yes.
They wanted to get away from the division of labor. The division of labor, that was the oppressive part of working.
Unless you're the poster guy.
Well, unless you like your work, then
that's
you're like,
a full-time job.
Look, a lot of people, you can divide the world into people who enjoy their work and people who don't. I think myself, we should automate away all the jobs that people don't want to do. Like robots should be doing
all
the
jobs.
Well, if that's the case, but I do think, look, you don't think there are attorneys that love being attorneys, love doing their job,
Sure.
Yeah. Look, there's all kinds of jobs that one person's nightmare is another person's heaven. So yeah, there's tons of jobs that people will want to do, but I just like working at McDonald's. I don't know. I mean, maybe there was
a guy, I don't remember his name. I don't even remember the context. I was listening to some interview, and this guy was a socialist. But I'm like, but at least this guy, he was like a for real socialist, because him and his socialist friends, they had a book publishing company, and they literally did a thing where, as at classic socialism, they would shift whatever job they did that day. So like they would literally take turns being the janitor.
Right.
And I was like, well, I think that's never going to be competitive. That will literally never, ever, ever, ever be competitive with a capitalist company, because it's so much less inefficient. You're basically saying that there's a moral flavor of equality there that's worth more than being efficient. And that's fine. You can do that. I don't have a problem with that, because maybe there is. Obviously, ruthless efficiency is not the most moral way to exist in the world, obviously.
Hell no.
But
yeah.
But I'm like, at least that guy is doing it. He's actually living this principle that he preaches.
Yeah, no, I agree. Living your principles is fulfilling.
Thing I watched randomly. I usually watch the clips. I rarely watch the live because time zones and shit. But some debate with some dude, I don't even know his fucking name, but he's big or some shit. And this guy unironically was proposing that if you're a socialist and you're doing this content and you're generating money off of this content, and for example you want people to have free healthcare, you're supposed to create a company or an NGO and provide healthcare for your fucking chat or your subscribers.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible. I fucking love that shit. That was a proper
it was
great
awesome,
thing to watch.
But so many people feel that.
So you like that? It's like, oh, listen, it's everyone else's problem. It's always somebody else's problem. Like, we should have free healthcare. You understand? That's not like a thing, right? There's no such thing as free healthcare. Like, somebody has to pay for it. So if you want to have government-run healthcare or a public option, that means the tax base is paying for it. It's not free. It means other people are paying for it. And it's just this wild notion, somebody else will do it, right? Some magical third invisible party is going to just make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
So many people believe.
You think so?
Yes. Yes. In America, people literally think socialism is a poverty cult. People straight up think if you're a socialist, you need to literally live this life of austerity, and every single dollar that you generate cannot go to any kind of personal consumption, because that's fucked up. If you're a capitalist, you can do all of that, by the way, which I addressed in that conversation where I work with labor unions in my merchandise when I make merch out here.
So there you go. Listen, he works with labor unions when he makes his merch.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
So you know that Hassan is he's working with the people there. He works with labor unions. He does the bare minimum.
Right. Yeah.
He makes his merch.
The sweatshop union.
Right. Okay.
I don't
run out of time. Let me skip ahead a little bit.
I'm not sure I believe the labor union thing.
Right.
Better. There was other stuff I want to talk about. Look, with respect to just content creation in this sphere, I think another reason why people think this is the end all be all is because there is no true class consciousness, no way of implementing any sort of change in this country. So a lot of people, I think, in the Western world look to content creation as a form of, I guess, revolutionary praxis or something. Like they think that is like ultimately the most revolutionary act you can engage in is tweeting.
Gee, why do they think that, Hassan? Let me really try to concentrate on it. Why would people possibly think that? Could it be that all the people in their mind that they view at the top of the hierarchy of enacting socialist change, that's all they do? All they do is create content. All they do is make videos and send out tweets. That's all they do. You're literally creating that ecosystem. People are trying to look at behavior to emulate, and they're just copying you. They learned it from you, Dad. They learned it from you.
So true. It's so true. Yeah.
I'm so glad that total idiots that understand nothing about psychology and human behavior are the ones that are trying to dictate that we restructure all of society.
Yeah.
God.
Look, we were joking around about him starting a failed co-op, right? Because we don't think it'll work. But if he
From our perspective, it would be a failed co-op. From him, he's going to think it's going to work, obviously.
Well, no, but if he could do a successful co-op, he would show other people in his audience how to do it.
Exactly.
They might emulate it. They might do one. Next thing you know, everyone's doing co-ops.
Oh, shocking. Oh,
look,
my
you
God.
can
But
make it look
no.
fun and sexy, like something entertaining. Oh,
But no,
man.
listen, I want to sit at home and watch, have my chair watch videos and comment on
Right.
them.
Look, here's what I'm teaching you. Here's how the communist revolution works. Sit down and watch content.
Why do these, I don't understand. Why do these people, they think that producing content and tweets is like the primary mode of revolutionary action. I have no clue why they think this.
Right. Yeah.
God.
Very sad.
Or saying things, completely misunderstanding what I am advocating for. But this is something that I think I've successfully been able to implement in my community, or instill this idea that it is not, that this is just content, and that they should unionize their workplaces. They should join organizations, which plenty of people have. They've started, YDSA chapters. There are...
Well, there you go. Listen. Someone else go just do it. Someone else start these chapters. Someone else go do the hard work. It's not my responsibility.
Organize your workplace.
Okay, yeah.
With you, but that's, I guess, the biggest fear of what we do, to an extent, at least from my perspective, is that when we create this shit and people consume this shit, does that increase their, anti-capitalist fervor, or does it indirectly placate it? Because, they sat down today, they watched this video, they listened to the stream, they, read that blog article or whatever type of content that you're creating, and that already gives them enough of a feeling, the gut feeling that, for today, I've done, quote unquote, my part for the ideas that I would like to espouse into the world and to manifest and to materialize, etc., etc. So,
this person actually had a real thought. Oh my God. What a good question. Aren't they basically just satiating people's desires for revolution by creating all this garbage content for them to consume?
Right. Instead of actually enacting change. We got to do this. I mean, this Borat-like character that is the Hassan style socialist. Because look, the content writes itself. We can find a place.
Yeah.
And go in and try to organize them to a labor union. There's a bunch of sweatshops around the studio. It would just be comedy gold trying to go in.
No,
and saying, listen, we're here to organize your workers.
No. Don't do it to what you do is
we get thrown out of every place.
Right. No. You don't do that. What you do is you get that character. Okay. You have your kind of Borat will always say yes to everything socialist character.
Right.
And you find the most leftist people you can possibly find out in the world.
Beverly Hills.
Right. And you work with them to create this co-op. Okay. And you get them to work there. And you get a bunch of these lefty kids to work there. And you're like the guy in charge, but all you do is you just acquiesce to every it doesn't matter how insanely woke, how totally like beyond the pale of insanity, how completely inefficient and stupid what they say is, you just say yes to everything. And just see how long it takes for this endeavor to just crash and burn.
Sure, the co-op thing would be good, but Hassan also said organize your workplace
Sure.
and join these
Oh, I
like
see. Yeah,
DSA and
right,
stuff like
right,
that, right?
yeah.
So I'm just thinking, look, if Hassan had power, which Hassan does have power, who are we kidding? Like
He has
he
lots
could
of
get
power.
on, look, he could pay someone to get on the phone and find a business in Los Angeles that he could approach about organizing the workers, right?
Yes.
That would be funny content because like he'd be thrown out immediately. Look, TYT couldn't even organize a union. What the hell?
Hassan has massive viewership. Okay. Massive viewership. I'm pretty sure that he's either bigger than or at least comparable than Tim Pool.
Yeah.
And it's like Tim Pool can get all these politicians all the time that come and talk
I
to
know.
him, right?
I know.
You know, and he can leverage that into like a dozen different things. I don't know if he is, but if he wants to, he could. And Hassan could so easily be in that same position on the left if he really cared.
Yeah. I don't think
But he doesn't.
Yeah,
Which,
I guess
listen,
it's the caring thing.
if you don't care, that's fine. But then don't spend all your time talking about the revolution and all this nonsense, because then you're just LARPing at that point.
Yeah, it is all LARPing.
It's kind of a scary question to ask ourselves, because we actively, encourage real life activism, agitation, organization, and so on and so on. From one perspective, from one side of the coin, but then from the other side of the coin, similar to like literally like bourgeois elections. You feel you only go once every 4 years. You put in that little fucking tablet choice, or the thing, the paper in the box, and it gives you the sense that, oh, I've done my part for my community for the next 4 years. The scary question is, do we, to a certain extent, by creating the stuff that we do, contribute to a very similar problem?
Yes.
And the only, it's not really even a question, because you subjectively can answer this, blah, blah, blah. But only time will tell if there is any actual, material contribution that comes, that goes towards the movement, the ideology of our poster making, or if it's quite unintentionally, to an extent, reactionary and shit. Do you get what I mean?
No, I totally understand it. You're saying you're asking if we are also playing a role in sedating the masses,
exactly,
despite our best efforts to instill class consciousness. Because people think that it is a revolutionary act to consume a piece of content that, or even like read theory, I guess, which would be the more advanced version of this. And I don't know, I would categorize it not even as theory, but as just entertainment, really. Like, I don't ever think about it like that at all. I don't think about like whether or not this is, stopping people from like genuinely engaging in this kind of action, because
Shocking, really?
Because
you don't
I
think
don't
about
give
it.
a fuck.
I'm so surprised that Hassan never thought about that. Wow, what a surprise. What a shock.
Well, he's got like, what? You want me to stop streaming? What are you talking about?
Listen, this is just entertainment. I'm just an entertainer, okay? An entertainer who's trying to bring about a radical shift in revolutionary country. I'm just an entertainer. It's entertainment for comment, purely for entertainment purposes, okay? Could you imagine if you like walk into a church and there's like that guy at the top, the preacher, he's pushing this prosperity gospel bullshit. There's a big sign outside the church that just says, "For entertainment purposes only." Don't actually think anything that the guy says is like realistic. Or
that would
that he
be
believes.
awesome. That would be
says,
awesome.
For entertainment purposes only. God.
That would be awesome.
Hassan should have that. You should have this giant banner above his head when he's streaming that just says, "For entertainment purposes only."
Right, yeah.
Okay. And I bet you his chat is so stupid.
They would love it.
They would love it.
They would.
They would love it. Because to them, they would think, oh, it's a wink wink, right? But to Hassan, it's not actually a wink wink.
It's perfect.
that a lot of these people would even know anything about socialism in general if it weren't for someone trying to slowly, I guess I hate this term, but bread pill them, you know? So for me, like I said, it's not that serious in my, like from where I'm standing, I talk about so much dumb shit over the course of 10 hours. Depending on what part of the broadcast you're tuning into. Like I'm playing fucking horror games and shit, you know what I mean? Like I don't live my life as though like every single moment and every single point of my output is supposed to be like socialist Jesus, you know?
Of course.
I think that it's important to have fun. I certainly have a lot of hedonistic desires that I cave to regularly. That's why I bought a nicer house than what revolutionaries on Twitter thought was appropriate. So I bought a fucking Porsche, and I have the capacity to do so I did it. But also because it just makes the limited amount of daily commute that I do more enjoyable. And I think everyone should do things like that if they have the capacity to do so.
Why can't everyone just buy nice things?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like the levels of grift and delusion are not comprehensible to the mere mortal mind.
Is it annoying to you, Sitch?
It's sad. It's sad, and it's so sad it's funny. Okay.
Do you feel like the people are being taken advantage of? Is this like the prosperity gospel? Is this, we see them
100%.
as the little old ladies who are given their grandkids' inheritance away to this grifter?
Only I don't feel bad for those people. Screw those people.
The prosperity people?
No. I actually feel bad for the prosperity people because they're using their religious faith to take advantage of them. I don't know. For me, that hits me differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is like a religious faith. Obviously.
It is, but maybe this is just my distaste for socialist. But I don't feel bad for any of these people that are getting grifted by Hassan or Second Thought or any of these people. Good.
Right.
Lose all your money, you stupid idiots.
Well,
I don't care.
I'm sure like a lot of them aren't subbed to Hassan. They just watch him. So
Sure. But all the people that are subbed to him and all the people that do donate to him, I'm glad. Screw you. I hope you lose your money, you dumb fuck. You dumb idiot. Subscribe to this, grifter over here who's just going to take your money and run. And he's going to thank you for letting me buy my McMansion as I, don't start the socialist revolution.
Do you feel the same if they know it's just an entertainment proposition? They're like, look, I could care less about this stuff. My friends listen to Hassan. Right. I listen to Hassan. He's funny. Look, he listens to horror. He tells funny stories.
Right.
Like maybe they're even a little annoyed by the socialist stuff.
Well, no, then I say, no. See, if they like him for that reason, I say, no, screw you. That's actually bad because he is enacting these, or he's pushing, because he's not enacting shit, which is the whole point of this.
Is he? I mean, look.
He is pushing this garbage philosophy out in the world that I do think will cause harm. And it is causing harm right now.
Right.
So no, I would tell those people to fuck off.
Well, it'd be more harm if he was politically organized, right?
Right. But that's the whole irony about this. It's like, I love just ripping on the fact that he's such a lazy asshole, but I'm glad that he is.
Well, it does kind of play into the lazy socialist stereotype, right?
Yes.
Perfectly.
It is not a coincidence. BreadTube is the perfect example of everything wrong with socialism. There's a reason it literally took private companies to create platforms for these people before they could get popular, because they never would have done it on their own. There's never going to be a Daily Wire equivalent that will gain the amount of fame or fortune or success the Daily Wire has for socialists, because they won't do it on their own. It won't happen.
Yeah. No, I think this is a fundamental flaw in their thinking. They think that businesses and institutions grow themselves.
Yes.
And that they just latch on like a giant leech as soon as it's done.
Right.
As soon as everything's finished. Look, now it's time for me to come in.
The example that you brought up that comes up in the Ethan Hassan conversation/debate is perfect. It's like you have someone who built this business up, and then the socialist leeches out, grabs onto it and says, oh, I should get equal share now because I'm working here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I love the. Oh, everything in that conversation is great. Sunday's going to be so much fun.
I know.
It's just they have no idea the barriers that they were putting up just to things happening. It's like,
Yes.
oh, the friction you're creating, the dynamism you're just pissing all over.
Right.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And they're all in this content creation game that is basically, the laziest. Like, look, I don't want to say lazy because obviously there's different levels of content creation. And second thought obviously puts time and energy into his videos.
He puts way more than Hassan does.
Yeah, Hassan has just sat down in front of a camera. Like, I don't even know if he knows how to start a stream. He's probably had someone else do it for him. Right?
Sure, he knows at least that.
There's like different levels of investment here. Hassan's only investment really is time. Like he sat down in front of started sitting down in front of the camera 10 hours a day. And just kind of took it where it went. So,
which, listen, there's nothing wrong with that, and that'd be laudable if his goal was not to destroy society.
Right. Well, he thinks obviously fixing it,
right.
Saving everybody. Look, the whole socialist cause is really just pitting workers against their bosses. There's one person in your life that you hate, and I'm gonna empathize with you on that. It's your boss.
Right.
I don't know who it is. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what his name is, what her name is, but I know you hate him. Like it's the perfect grift.
Yeah.
Because you can look, I can talk in detail about your boss.
Right.
And I don't know jack shit about your boss.
And that is a perfect framework, because that really shows you how all the cultural Marxism works, because they just replace your boss isn't necessarily your boss. Their boss is the white man.
Yes.
Or just the man, right? Depending on which, version that we're going to take here.
Of course. Yeah. We're talking about the person that you despise.
Yep.
Look, donate to my Patreon. I hate that guy too. I hate all the people you hate.
Ultimately, though, it's just I'm an entertainer. I'm an entertainer first. I'm not a revolutionary activist.
Oh my God.
I'm not I'm not a leader in the movement. I just do entertainment. If there is more value in that entertainment for someone that feels like their worldview has changed, and that's great. That's definitely a goal. But ultimately, it's educational entertainment, edutainment.
Absolutely fair enough.
Very, very
No,
nice.
it's not. Oh my God. The leeches, they want to climb the hierarchy of Hassan so bad. They're going down on this guy. Okay. You asked him a good question. You said, does us existing and creating this content, does that absorb and suck away the revolutionary energy? And Hassan didn't answer that question. He just said, I don't think about that. I create entertainment.
Right.
That was his answer. He gave you the biggest bullshit answer, and you just went, good enough for me. I can't challenge you because you're above me in the hierarchy, and I'm a good socialist.
Look, Sitch, I don't like responsibility. I'm Hassan.
It's just so wild. Like, does anyone honestly believe for a second that Hassan climbed the hierarchy of Twitch streaming by I'm just being entertaining? It's nothing to do with my politics. That's just like a side quest that I barely ever touch on.
Well, except for when chat tells me to.
Right.
Or when I say something chat doesn't like.
When I pull up like Hassan videos on YouTube or clips on YouTube, or even when I pull up Hassan streams, like 9 times out of 10, I go to a random part. It's always just politics. This is just nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he drags politics into everything. Every story, every game, every movie, review, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
I do stress it, though. I do stress the importance of doing shit in the real world all the time, because I think that, if your interest in improving your material conditions begins and ends with consuming content, then, you're not going to get anything done, and you're not going to feel the positive impact that you might have on your community or in your own personal life by engaging in these kinds of actions. So that's something that I try to instill in my audience regardless.
So there you go. I instill in my audience that you you people below me, you people, not as popular as me, you people less rich than I am, you go do it. You go change it. Me, I'm at the top here and I'm comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
Today, it's two things we have to be aware of. The first one is to make sure that at the end of the day, capitalism commodifies everything, including what would be considered to be quote-unquote revolutionary content, which this isn't. This is entertainment, but you know what I mean. Leftist content, in essence, becomes a commodity, regardless of whether we can...
God, you're right. He totally just went down on him. He's like,
yeah,
this revolutionary content is now just entertainment. Thank you, Hassan. My marching orders. Thank you. My mistake, master. He gobbled it right up, didn't he? Of course, this is just entertainment. What was I thinking?
Can help it or not. Even if none of it was absolutely monetized, like this was completely done just to have the information out there. In the same way, they would form the same processes behind it. The fact that it would become like, oh, a figure that then has the drama shit behind it. All that. So that's one thing we have to keep in mind. But number two, and I think more importantly, again, not to take it so seriously. If you want to take politics seriously, then you take politics seriously in your real life, day-to-day activities. Otherwise, what you're doing here is just to entertain yourself, number one, kind of to educate yourself.
Bro,
but at the end of the day, the same.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Like, okay,
so there you go. Listen. Whenever any of these fucking scumbag pieces of shit ever try to come on you online for anything, you can just play this clip of him and Hassan agreeing, saying, listen, they just say we shouldn't be taking internet politics seriously. Why are you mad at me? Why it's so serious, motherfucker? It's just entertainment. Just chill out. It's just entertainment. That's what Hassan said. That's what these fucks said. It's all just entertainment. Why are you so fucking serious all the time?
Yeah. Just my MAGA hat, bro.
Yeah.
It's just entertaining.
Can you fathom for a second if like Nick Fuentes or any of these white nationalist people were like, it's just entertainment, Hassan. This is just entertainment. I'm not actually advocating for anything in the real world. Like, you think they'd be like, they'd accept that?
Oh no, of course not.
God.
I mean, they say that all the time. They're like, these are just jokes, right?
Yeah.
Look, the cookie joke. It's just a joke.
Oh my God.
Here's one thing I'll say. People get so mad about how much money I make, or what I'm doing with the money, even though I do a lot of fundraising. I do a lot of donations, even though like I think charity is not the end all be all, obviously, and there's plenty of issues with 501c3s and all that. No need to have that conversation on this podcast of all places. But people get so mad about the amount of money that I make when it is literally voluntary subscriptions. Like, that is my revenue strategy. It's the exact same as like people with Patreons. It's the exact same with people with Substacks. Half the time the people chirping at me are literally people with Substacks. They just don't have any subscribers. Like, that's the only difference. And so like the way I'm generating income is identical to the way that they are trying to generate income while they're angry. And that's what I try to explain to people regularly. We're like, you don't even need to fucking pay a subscription. Everything is free. Not only is the content free, but the IP in and of itself is free as well. If you want to use it, if you want to fucking watch it, there's like 1,000 fan channels out there.
So there you go. Listen, the only people that complain to Hassan, they're all people that are jealous. Bunch of these jealous socialists complain to Hassan, right? That's the issue.
Sure.
Yeah. It's not like those people think, well, they actually want to enact some kind of change that they're pushing for in the world. And they see that the person at the top of the hierarchy here who's absorbing all the money, because obviously to some extent, not to 100% extent, but to some extent, fundraising and content consumption is, a game of limited access. There's only limited money and limited time and limited energy for people to focus on in the world. And so for every time someone's donating to Hassan or watching Hassan, that could definitely be an hour not watching someone else or money not going to some other cause.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're just up there sucking up, this energy, this time, this space on the hierarchy, and your big move here is to say, It's not my problem. It's someone else's problem. Someone else go deal with it. Yeah, you should go out in the real world and enact real world change. I'm gonna sit in my house and eat nuggies and watch content, Like, it's just, these
This
people.
has to be just these people are not really socialists. They're just watching this for aesthetics.
This is like, it's the literal definition of champagne socialism. This is literally like Hassan. If you look up luxury beliefs in the dictionary, it is a picture of Hassan Piker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah.
Right
exactly.
there. None of these people believe any of this stuff.
Nope.
And then you go after them because of this. I don't think that this is the fundamental point of your
It
critique.
misses the whole point.
It goes back to the whole failure cult thing, where it's like whether you're a successful YouTuber, Twitch streamer, whatever, or one that is not successful. It's the ones that don't have any followers. Oh, they're the pure ones. They're following the whatever line, the party line is. And then as soon as you cross some arbitrary threshold of whether it's subscribers or patrons or whatever, then suddenly you're revisionist and all the people come out of the woodwork to criticize the work you're doing, even if the work you are doing has not changed since the beginning of your channel.
Gee, really, the people who are so obsessed that anyone that climbs the hierarchy is evil change and get mad at you when you climb the hierarchy and become successful. I could have never predicted this in my entire life. Wow, just shocking.
The whole ideology is based around tearing down hierarchies.
Yes.
Of course, when you get to the top of the hierarchy, they're going to want to tear you down.
Right.
That's their philosophy.
Yes.
That's your philosophy.
Yes, because you are climbing the hierarchy. This is every one of these bread tube liars and grifters. Okay. They're like, they approach the hierarchy. I want you to envision in your mind the hierarchy is a pyramid of people all supporting each other, right? And they say, listen, this pyramid is oppressive. You have thousands of people at the bottom of this massive human pyramid, and you're all holding up this one schmuck at the top, right? You're just holding up the rich and elite at the top. Listen. The only way to destroy this pyramid safely, because if you just tear out the bottom, everyone's going to die. You don't want that to happen. The only way to dismantle this human pyramid safely is I need to go. You need to let me climb up you, go to the top, and I'm going to start pushing people off of the top left and right, okay? And I'm going to work my way down, and boom, people at the bottom are going to be free. Now people at the bottom say, yes, we're with you. And then second Hassan go, okay, we're going to do this. Let us climb your bodies. We're climbing your human bodies. We're climbing the hierarchy, because when we get to the top, we're going to start knocking off all the elites. And they're climbing, and people like cheering, and like, yes, climb higher, higher, higher. And then they get to like, not quite the top, but like the second, third rung of this pyramid. There's like millions of people under them. And they're like, it's a pretty good view up here. Now that I think about it, like nice fresh air, and the people at the bottom are like, Hassan, aren't you going to knock those people off? And he's like, what are you talking about?
These are my friends.
These are my friends. I'm just an entertainer. Listen.
Why would I knock my friends off?
It sounds like, listen, guys at the bottom. Okay, I want you to understand something here. Okay, I'm going to talk very strongly to the people in the same rung of the hierarchy as me. I'm going to talk very strongly to the people above me. I'm going to tell them, stop it. Stop it. You above me, you climb down. Stop it. Okay, so listen, guys at the bottom. I'm telling them, stop it. Stop it. If they don't stop it, listen, if they don't actually stop it, it's up to you. It's up to you down there. Okay, you make them stop it, right? You send someone else up here to go stop it for them. I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm just the guy telling them to stop it, all right? I'm you guys at the bottom, I'm telling the people at the top your concerns, okay? That's all I'm doing. That's my job.
Look, this may be wishful thinking, but I do feel like Ethan Klein started realizing, wow, this is just a grift.
Yes. Yes, hopefully.
He's like, look, I thought maybe we could do some positive political change in the world. But you're a fucking grifter. You're just a grifter.
I'm gonna look at it a little more cynically. I think so. Ethan is a smart person, even though I don't agree with him doing like all the woke crap.
Right.
And so like a lot of people are very smart people. I'm pretty sure Second Thought, I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure Second Thought is a intelligent person. He's just mind has been warped into this garbage. And it's just,
well, he read Lenin when he was like 13.
Right. Yeah. It corrupted him. It's like there are people that are intelligent and then they get sucked down these rabbit holes where they use their intelligence for bad reasons. But one of the ways that we know, being hype boys, is the best way for your intelligence to prop up is when someone attacks you, your intelligence goes to 120% to defend you and defend yourself. Right?
True.
So if Ethan is interacting with all these socialists and all these socialists are attacking him, suddenly his intelligence goes up to 120% capacity to defend himself. And the best way to defend himself is like, these guys are all liars.
Yes, totally.
So I think that's what's happening.
I think so, yeah.
But isn't that human pyramid analogy? That's like literally the perfect analogy.
Yeah, it's like Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
As you're getting higher and higher, everyone's
Yes.
getting more bougie.
Yes.
There's like drunken girls and parties and stuff. You're
And
like,
you become
oh my
less
God.
willing to actually stop anyone at
Yeah.
the top. Because
Everyone's yelling up at you. Aren't you going to start throwing people off?
They're
When
like,
are the people coming down?
well, I can't, because if I throw him off, he won't serve me drinks anymore.
Yeah, this guy's a waiter.
Yeah.
I can't throw him off.
Listen, I'll send a very strongly worded message, email to the guy at the top to tell him that we're very concerned with the treatment of people at the bottom, all right?
Yeah.
So, okay, that was all from this horrible conversation. This insane conversation that I want to show you today.
All right, let's read some super chats.
I can't believe this snuck under the radar. Anonymous Coward for $20 says, if I super chat my favorite social streamer so he gets enough money to buy a multi-million-dollar house, we're one step closer to the communist utopia. He'll one day lead the charge in his Porsche for a collective action. True.
Keep trying.
True. Fudgical for 20 Canadian, thank you. Says, hey, Adam, I responded again on the discussion with Justin, clarifying why I think government payments to service debt may not manifest inflation. Curious what you think. Cheers. Also, so sorry, close draw. But this class is best class.
Okay, I'll check it out.
There you go.
I think I responded once already, but I'll take a look.
PC, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Twitter Sucks for $40. Thanks so much. Twitter Sucks. Twitter Sucks came on the other day. It was great.
Oh, yeah. It was
Oh,
awesome.
sorry. Twitter Sucks didn't come on. I'm insane.
Oh,
Mark Twain's
wait.
Revenge
No,
came
it
on.
wasn't. It was Mark
Yeah,
Twain's Revenge.
sorry.
What are you doing?
I know. My brain is fried from listening to Hassan. Okay. It's a
But we'd have Twitter Sucks on. Look,
We
a lot
would.
of people liked it when we brought JMac on and when we brought Mark Twain's Revenge on, because they interact with him in the chat all the time, and they're like, this is awesome. I get to
Right.
meet him.
Yeah.
So
Come on,
yeah, if
Twitter
Twitter
Sucks.
Socks wants to come on, fuck, come on.
All our surrogate family members. should come on.
Mithram 6 has been
True.
a
With us
fan for a long time as well. Yeah. Mithram might have been on one of the call-in streams.
Probably the one that
I don't
you
remember.
got removed from the internet.
What?
The one where you played hardcore.
Oh, no, it's back up though. I've
Oh, okay.
uploaded it. I took the hardcore
Okay.
Henry out. Yeah.
Okay. Tour Stocks for $40 says, Sitch, did you see my DM that TBYS posted a reply to Noah's last video yesterday? Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. But I did see that he did do another second reply to Noah's video.
He watched our live stream too. He left a comment on our live stream saying, I watched it. So
Nice.
Yeah.
And then Tour Stocks also says, every time this awkwardly German sounding man says, et cetera, it's just a placeholder for phrases and calls to action that break terms of service. We need to bring people to the cause, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, no,
Right.
That's a very good point.
by
It's very-
force, against their will, et cetera, et cetera.
It's kind of like, there's that Seinfeld joke where it's like, and then we yada, yada, yada. It's like, you can't yada, yada, yada that. You can't yada, yada, yada the violent revolution.
True.
Mr. From 6 for 50, because for 500 Kazarkazarks, thank you. Says the commie thing is bad, but what's even worse is that Hassan's mom is slacking off again. The table's a mess. There are no nuggies, and nobody's cleaned the Kalishnikov in the corner. In a month, you won't overthrow capitalist pigs with this attitude. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Someone needs to stop lazing out.
Jay for $20 says Hassan doesn't need to start a co-op. He can simply run his channel like one and share all the profits equally with his staff. He'll never do that though, because like a true party member, he wants the bag. True.
Right.
Cameraman 502 for $20. Thanks so much. Says Hassan's comments on wreckers is literally the Leninist concept of democratic centralism that forbade dissent. Wrecker is a Soviet term for someone who criminally hampered the revolution by sabotaging in show trials. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize it went all the way back to the Soviet time period.
Yeah, I was wondering where he got that term from.
Hilarious. Jay for $20 says, since none of these commies believe in the freedom of speech in the first place, can't we just make them live by their principles and bury them under a jail for their Marxist diatribe? This comment is not endorsed by the stream.
Oh, well, thank you for throwing that in there.
I mean, listen, I'm starting to be more amenable to the stance that if you are promoting a philosophy that doesn't believe in free speech, that you should not actually get free speech.
Right.
I'm starting to become amenable to that idea. So.
I am 100% amenable to the idea that if you want to disenfranchise voters, that you should be disenfranchised.
We'll talk about that.
You should lose your right to vote.
I wonder who you're talking about. Twitter sucks for $20. Says, what a hilarious testament for Marxism. Quote, when you succeed, you become useless. When you achieve your goal of implementing Marxism, you become a failure with no future or further motivation. This is martyrdom. What? LOL. Yeah, I mean, this is just all the perfect examples of everything wrong with Marxism. Very true. Twitter sucks for not $20. Thank you so much. Twitter sucks, giving us so much money. Like a good capitalist. Says, quote, if no one owns anything, who takes care of things like maintenance? I don't know, not me. Someone else will do it, probably. Absolutely incredible. I know. It's like, what the hell? These people are so delusional.
Yeah, that's what makes it funny, though.
It is.
That's a true entertainment.
Right. Well, anyway, we will read the rest of the super chats on Tuesday. Thank you so much, everybody, for your incredibly generous donations and for watching this with us today. This stream was like, when someone sent this to me, I was like, oh my God, it was just insane. Yes. This may be the most insane Hassan Second Thought content I've ever listened to, where they basically just say, hey, we're a bunch of grifters, suck it. And then they slowly moonwalk off stage to a bunch of cheering communists who throw money at them.
This video has 100,000 views.
Yes. Yes.
I guess it's not a secret.
It's not. It's not a secret that they're all a bunch of grifting liars. And their audience just is like, whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
They go, listen, Republican bad, right-wing bad. Ha, ha, ha. Funny man, make me laugh.
Yep. All right. We'll leave it there.
Anyway, take care.
Bye-bye.